morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depend on where you're viewing today. Welcome to our webinar, Meeting Transcripts Meet ChatGPT 10 Insights. My name is Bracy Parr, and I'm an account executive here at Decisions, and I'm joined by our head of revenue operations, Derek Hippa. Before we dive in, a couple of plugs here. We've got a training event coming up in November on the 14th through the 16th in Dallas. It's a 3-day event. We'll have a beginner track as well as a master track. You can sign up on our website at decisions.com/events. We'd really love to have you there. There's also be a chance to interact with different people if you're already a customer or you're looking to get hands-on knowledge of our tool. You do not need to be a customer to sign up. We'd love to have you there. There's a big crowd signed up already, but we do have a couple of slots left. We also have a number of upcoming webinars. The first of these is be on Tuesday, November 7th at 1 p.m., talking about why your business needs a rules engine. And you're going to see us touch on that rules engine topic a bit today, both before the live demo and then as well once Derek dives into our platform. In continuing with this theme of generative AI, we'll also have a webinar in that series on automating requirements gathering with artificial intelligence, and that will be on Tuesday, November 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern. This was a very interesting use case that we first touched on at our Decisions Days event earlier in the year, and we've been working on this project. For all of us in the software world, gathering requirements can be somewhat of a laborious process. And it's exciting to see how you can leverage AI to be able to speed up, streamline, and improve that process. You can go to decisions.com/events to sign up. If you missed any of the other webinars we've produced on generative AI-powered use cases, you can check those out on our video page, decisions.com/videos. We've had a number in this series, from document extraction made easy to unstructured to structured data, building no-code chatbots with your own data, and then lots of other topics like process mining, process analysis, continuous improvement. You can find all these videos and much, much more at decisions.com/videos. If you're more of a text person, we also offer a white paper on how you can combine AI and decisions to be able to automate and orchestrate processes across your business. You can go to decisions.com/solutions/AI-orchestration to download. Or if you'd like us to email this to you, feel free to drop your email in the chat and we will collect those emails and have this white paper sent to you directly. A bit of housekeeping here. We're going to definitely save time for Q&A at the end, but please don't wait to ask your question. Feel free to use the Q&A or the chat functions in Zoom, signified by these icons, to ask your questions at any time. Oftentimes, you may forget if you wait to the end, and sometimes those questions might add a little bit of color commentary on what Derek and I are discussing as we go along. So again, please feel free to use those. And then two, in the chat, are there any use cases you would like to see? We'd be happy to explore those in future webinars. Is there something you'd like to see us demonstrate? Please feel free to sound off in the chat. We will be monitoring that. And we always love these ideas. Some of our best webinars have been client-produced ideas, so feel free to share. So here are the things that we'll go over today. First, we're going to talk about what is Decisions. I'll give a brief introduction of our no-code business process automation platform to get us started. And then we'll talk about generative AI and the value that we see at a more theoretical level, as well as some considerations about security and other things that come up as your business seeks to leverage this technology. We'll discuss Decisions Open AI module. So if you're a Decisions customer or you're in the sales cycle now, you know where to find it and how to leverage it. And then I'll turn it over to Derek to discuss these meeting transcript insights to show you how leveraging Decisions as an orchestration tool and AI in this AI powered use case, you're able to get all of this extra value from meeting transcripts that are fed into this large language model. And then we'll do a demo of the tool so you can see how is this built in decisions, and we'll actually run it live so you can see it in what we call our visual debugger, so you can see what does the data do from step to step. And lastly, as I mentioned, we will have a full Q&A at the end. But again, don't wait to ask your question. Go ahead, put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A feature. We're happy to take them as we go. A word about Decisions. Decisions is a no-code workflow and rules platform that is 100% visual. We combine two powerful tools, a rules engine to be able to represent business logic in a graphical manner, as well as a workflow engine that is a drag and drop designer where you can orchestrate and automate different processes. Decisions itself is not an AI model or a machine learning model or anything like that. Decisions is a no-code business process automation platform, but AI is one of those things we can leverage and orchestrate within our tool. And you're going to see exactly that today. Depending on how our customers use our product, they might fall into three different buckets. For instance, if you're more so leveraging the rules engine, like Nationwide Insurance, you're able to utilize your subject matter experts, business users, business analysts to go in and take over your business logic that may be stored in code, stored procedures, Excel spreadsheets, or even in people's brains as tribal knowledge. New York City, for instance, is able to look at social security benefits, different social programs, and be able to adjudicate those claims automatically, saving time and energy for their overworked staff in these social work environments. Roche Genentech is able to use our tool to be able to track the lineage of different clinical trial samples, all within these graphical rule editors, and remove the need for IT intervention and reduce those timelines when those rules may change. If you start to leverage more of the workflow engine in addition to the rules engine, you can also extend and expand on common off-the-shelf software that practically any business uses. That might be a CRM, it might be a human capital management, an HCM, might be your ERP system, your accounting system. If those products get you maybe 80% of what you need, but you have special pricing, packaging, special considerations for certain customers, all of these deviations that those software may not be able to handle, Decisions can be a powerful bolt-on, almost like a brain that you can attach to these products, and with the workflow and rules, be able to handle those cases more swiftly. Lastly, and what we'll be mostly showing today, Decisions can be a total workflow solution with the power of a rules engine. So instead of building linear, brittle workflow, you can have these entire orchestration layer that unifies different applications. Oftentimes, when you think about business processes, even the simplest, such as HR onboarding, invoicing, etc., these different processes span not only departments, but different applications within your organization. And Decisions can fill in the cracks. It can be the mortar between the bricks of these different applications, keeping the audit trail, keeping the data, and then again, leveraging rules so you're able to respond dynamically to all these different cases. Rio Tinto, a very large mining company in Australia, for instance, uses us in a variety of different ways within back office automation. Oftentimes, customers start with a single use case and really are able to snowball because so many parts of your business can be visualized in this way as a workflow that has different rules about if things can be approved, if things need to kick off, not kick off, when they need to be kicked off, notifications, and then even interfaces, all built in a no-code manner. If any of that appealed to you at all, I'm going to make a final plug here. If you want to see more, please sign up for a demo on our website, or you can email us at sales@decisions.com. We'd love to connect you with one of our engineers. We'll spend an hour showing you the no-code development platform and how to build applications. Our demos, they're fun. We love taking suggestions on what to build live. Our engineers are absolutely fantastic. You will go in, we'll make a build from scratch. We love a challenge. We love putting your rules in front of you from the get-go. So please don't hesitate to sign up for that. Um, you're going to see Derek do a bit of what our sales engineers do each and every day. He's going to dive into the tool, but it's better to see it on a demo with your data, your use case, and we can really take those demos in any direction you'd like. They're not videos. We do it live, as they say. Okay, let's dive into what y'all came to see here today. Let's take a moment and talk about generative AI. Now, we don't claim to be experts, and we're not going to really talk about what generative AI necessarily is, how the history of it, anything like that. We're treating generative AI as a tool that is in your tool set, just like any other piece of software or necessarily part of a business process at your organization here. Um, I attended the Gartner IT Symposium, probably with some of you who are on our webinar today, last week, and the buzzword was generative AI. I think I saw this maybe 10,000 times, posted, plastered everywhere you could imagine, in every conversation. It's right now categorized by Gartner as being in this peak of inflated expectations. This is, again, the Gartner hype cycle, talking about how different products get introduced to market and what tends to be the wave. It is in the news every day, and just to sort of zoom in here, it's on the forefront of everyone's mind, right? But Gartner typically expects with these new products, you might fall into what's called the trough of disillusionment. There is all this hype, all of this potential, these promises, but it doesn't necessarily turn out that this is how something can be used or not. This is the point of the Decisions webinar series that we've been putting forward. This is showing how AI combined with orchestration, and specifically in our case, no code workflow and rules, can get you on that slope of enlightenment quicker, get you to value in a practical way, not a theoretical way, and get you to that plateau of productivity. If y'all are familiar with Gartner, they love alliteration. And so we're trying with Decisions workflow orchestration, get you to leverage AI in a smart way with guardrails that make sense. And we'll talk about how AI can fly off the handle or fly off the rails, if you will, without these guardrails that you put in. We at Decisions have been leveraging AI for quite a while now, and we've had some learnings here that we'd like to share with you before we actually get into the technical part of our product. There's different opportunities and promises that we've seen, of course, approaching these all in a modest way. Again, not trying to fall in that trough of disillusionment. AI cannot solve every problem. I think everybody knows that. We've seen great opportunities within revenue and being able to improve the products that we already have. And you see this with Decisions, us implementing our open AI module. We had a Decisions hackathon with ChatGPT, and then we had 6 teams, and it was amazing the things that they turned around from these Fortune 500 companies that competed within this competition. Things that were truly value added that they got done in 48 hours with just our tool. So in terms of your product development, making your products better, improving them, competing with your other players in the market. For instance, even Zoom now, which we're leveraging, they've added an AI companion. It's a perfect example of how they're enhancing their own products. And then if you've been on LinkedIn in the past couple of months, you are probably seeing all of these entirely new businesses cropping up solely devoted to AI. They're selling their models. There's new revenue channels of selling complete AI generated products rather than enhancing the ones you already have. And these are the 2 ways that we see in terms of revenue, how you're able to leverage AI to grow that. In terms of productivity, you're also able to reduce cost through these different ways of leveraging AI in combination with your current business processes. For instance, you can augment what your workers are doing. A lot of you may have seen these co-pilots. There's different co-pilots, say, when you're writing code to be able to correct it as you go along, autofill, have suggestions, etc. You can also long-term optimize your talent. There's saving money through reducing the time it takes for workers to get things done. You can realign certain workers with higher value tasks, and you can also add capacity without adding headcount at your business. Lastly, and this is something that's really big here at Decisions, you can improve your processes through obviously saving money, streamlining them, and being able to take on more with the same resources that you have now. Lastly, here in risk opportunities, you can mitigate the risk through the repeatability that AI offers. So you can avoid some of that human oversight, manual errors, etc. And then in terms of sustainability, you can reduce your carbon footprint through leveraging AI at certain times. If you're streamlining, if you're reducing the number of resources that it takes to get the same thing done, we can think about sustainability in that way. As I mentioned on our last slide, AI is not a panacea. There's a lot of things you have to do to get it right. And it doesn't necessarily work for you just right out of the box. You have to ask uh, the model the right question. And so if you go to AI, it's not like me asking them to write me a love letter in the style of Taylor Swift for my crush. AI, ChatGPT is wonderful at that. I may or may not have already done it for that purpose, right? But what we're doing in our business are going to be very, very specific, narrow tasks. So you're able to train the model and be able to look in a feedback loop is what we asked of it correct? Do we need to pinpoint more? Do we need to focus more on what we're doing and what we're asking? And a lot of that will depend on structuring data. If you're interested in that structuring data topic, please feel free to check out one of our previous webinars from unstructured to structured data. What you ask the tool is really going to depend, the quality of what you put in will really dictate the quality of what you get out. Many people are talking about this idea of hallucinations, where AI will create these things that have no basis in reality. It gives you an answer that really does not match, but if maybe it were true, it would be the top answer. If you narrow what you're asking and make sure you're very focused, you'll help avoid these hallucinations. And then as well, you have to audit and validate this. There needs to be a feedback loop where you're able to see, what did I put in, what did I get out, be able to rate that, validating the data that you send in, make sure that you're not sending maybe personally identifiable information, etc. Make sure you're sending in the right structure that they want. Today we'll be using JSON, and then also having dashboards. And that's one thing Derek will be able to show us, dashboards to say, all right, what at a high level, my KPIs, my different audit trails that I want to see for the data that I've sent over versus the data that I get back. What does that look like? Let me peek under the hood. Let me see into the black box. Lastly here, just as a final note, we are not lawyers. Please do your homework. This is not legal advice. Anything that we're saying on this demo, a lot of vendors, and we'll touch on this a little bit more in a couple of slides. They offer enterprise security, but again, you need to make sure that this aligns with your own company's security policy as far as leveraging these tools. There's a lot of trepidation, obviously, and as there should be, but also there's a bit of too much gung-ho-ness of people wanting to send everything and expecting the data to be secure. You need to do your homework before you get started with any of these generative AI projects. All right, pivoting a little bit to talk about decisions, we're going to go into the Open AI module. So if you're a Decisions customer on the call, this is where you'll be able to find it. This is available in version 8.12. If you have that version, if you go to your My Apps section, you'll be able to see the module. You can also, as an administrator, go to the administrator area, go to features, and you'll be able to install the Open AI module. And like all of our module, this will add steps within your workflow platform that we'll take a look at in a second. Decisions, a quick note here, a license of Decisions does not include a license to these different softwares within our modules. Our modules are preloaded API methods that call out to these different major software vendors. you will need to have an account with OpenAI that you're responsible for, generate an API key there, and then you'll be able to go to the settings area of decisions, edit those settings, and provide the API key. But essentially, that is all of the setup that you need to do to install the module. And once you install the module within the workflow designer, you will have all of these different drag and drop steps under integration, OpenAI, and then there's other obviously further folders depending on what the API methods are. And you can drag and drop all these steps onto the canvas and be able to configure them one by one using those different step properties. Just to give you a quick overview, you see these different methods. Depending on your level of familiarity with OpenAI API, they may be more familiar, less familiar, and we will be adding to this module as OpenAI adds more services and methods to its API. In terms of user queries, these are questions that we get very often. OpenAPI emphasize they do not use data sent to them via API to train their models. So the specific inputs that we're giving, they're not retained. They're not used for training future modules. The data that we're sending, it is encrypted generally for high security. So that obviously helps protect your information from potential eavesdroppers. And then lastly, in terms of user control, in OpenAPI, you have control over your data. You have control over your data. You can delete the data that's associated with any account, with your queries, etc. But again, we're not lawyers. This may change. You really need to understand before you send data or embark on a large scale product, what is going to happen here. All right, so meeting transcript insights. Before I turn this over to Derek, I really just want to add a bit of human touch here because me as a salesperson, and I think anybody who's ever been in a corporate meeting, one thing that I'm seeing right now, we're not living in the Jetsons world yet, but something that I see happening for me on a day-to-day basis, no more taking notes. We have these tools that are obviously pulling transcripts for us. There's recordings of things, but with the introduction of ChatGPT, being able to get intelligence and answer questions that I have during an entire hour, I'm not going to sit and scribe anymore. I have a product that, with the right training, with the right guardrails, is actually able to give me my next steps. It's able to give me my key takeaways from meetings. That means I can focus more on what's happening in the meeting than rather switching between tasks of writing stuff down while I'm trying to listen to a prospect. As a salesperson, this is super useful to me, and being able to take on more demos, more discovery calls, and increase my productivity. We were speaking about that process improvement earlier. This is a real life example. I am a real life example. We here at Decisions, we drink our own champagne, we eat our own dog food. We leverage this now for all of our sales organization to reduce, us missing things. It's super freaking cool. I can't express how much this is really just streamlined what I've done. And I think businesses that are missing out on this are going to see those other companies and organizations that are using AI eclipsing them because they're able to automate these small tasks and be able to bring in, more revenue. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Derek now. He's going to explain a little bit about the architecture, and then we'll go into the insights before we hit the demo. Derek?
All right, thank you, Bracy. I appreciate the great introduction and then kind of introducing Decisions. So today, we're going to be talking about this meeting transcript that we built within inside Decisions, kind of using a couple different integrations. As many of you may know, there are other tools that do this currently. And what we really want to highlight today is that we still utilize those tools such as Gong and Zoom, but we're able to use our own platform to really customize these transcripts to fit our needs. When you deal with like Gong and Zoom, they have their own summarization and next steps, which is helpful, but it's a black box. You don't really understand how all of that works. You can't really customize it, and that's really the whole purpose of what we're going to be doing today. So high level, this is kind of like our architecture design of how we utilize Decisions in between this tech stack. So we have Gong, which is a revenue intelligence platform. we have a bot that would go on to these calls with our prospects or customers and sales reps that transcribe it. I'm going to show you an example of what that looks like. But we're able to utilize decisions to pull that transcript from Gong. We could store that information into a database such as Snowflake. And then the second piece of that would be, doing these additional insights. And once all those insights have been, after we ran them through ChatGPT to produce those insights, we could then store that data into an external database or Salesforce, for example. So the 10 insights that we would really want to go over today are summaries. So when you look at Zoom and Gong today, they typically do like an overall summary and next steps. And that's really all you get. You have the ability to kind of communicate with a bot to kind of get some additional questions, but there's a lot of manual work. So today we want to highlight 10 separate use case or insights. It's a lot of information, but it's very powerful and impactful to our sales organization. So we still want that summary. We want high-level key takeaways on both parties, to the prospect and our sales rep. But we also want to identify the problem summary. So this is really important for our business today. Prospects are coming to us to solve a problem. We wanted to be able to customize the output of these transcripts to identify that problem for us. It's going to give us a lot more information than, maybe Bracy, no offense. But we could
None
also
taken.
yeah, no worries. We could also then categorize that problem summary into a bucket of items. So like a product, back office automation, rules engine. So we can really understand what people are looking for when they come to these demos that we offer. Next steps, which we discussed, but we have 5 additional. Sentiment analysis. What is their tone? Is it positive? Is it negative? And this is really tailored towards that prospect. We could do keyword extraction. If there was any competitors mentioned that was compared to our platform decisions. We could also introduce a training and coaching piece, which could be helpful for our internal reps to see maybe some areas of improvement. And it's a non-biased system of ChatGPT kind of determining this through the transcript. And then finally, we are adding a previous webinar we did where we had this use case bot. So we store our use cases that customers use us for, and we could run that problem summary against them and have decisions produce like recommendations of similar customers that have built something that's related to that problem summary. And then basically, I don't know. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
It's super fascinating for me because what Derek is about to show is a call that happened yesterday. Again, we're not talking theory. This is something that just knocked my socks off when we first implemented it. And you might be thinking, oh, there's a recommendation engine, there's these things. It's replacing a human. But like Derek said, these are generally things that we would be summarizing in our notes, taking time to input, copying and pasting. The time savings for me, and then the added value of the intelligence. I mean, it's just wonderful. It's an augmentation of what a human's doing, not a human replacement.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, cool. Are we ready to see it live?
Absolutely.
Very good. All right, Bracy, can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Very good. All right, so this is a transcript. So this is actually what Gong has produced. And like Bracy mentioned earlier, there was a demo that was scheduled yesterday, and Bracy and one of our sales engineers, Alex, conducted this demo for this prospect. And this is the overall transcript that was produced by Gong. So in Gong, you can kind of see how it separates the person talking, what they said. And these things are fairly accurate. Every now and then you might see some little mistakes of like spelling, might not have been able to really understand what that person said, but overall it does a pretty good job. So you can see there's a timestamp person. So overall, not too bad. So what the goal here is actually to take this transcript, run it through our decisions process, where we are going to try to capture those 10 separate insights and produce a final output. So the output that we're going to show today is an email that's sent, maybe 30 minutes to an hour after that call has been conducted. And this is all utilizing our platform decisions. And then in addition to that, we're going to show you what it looks like within Salesforce. So really two pieces of it. And then we'll jump into our workflow engine so you can kind of see how it was built and we can run it live for you. So here's the input, right? And then what I'm going to do is jump over to my email to show you what the output is. So we modified this slightly just to kind of keep the name private. We don't want to be highlighting any prospects or customers throughout the webinar. So something to keep in mind, you may see X. But this is the final output. This is the summary that we produce using decisions. So decisions can send emails, and we're able to format it in a way that we want. So high level details. Again, this was a demo that occurred. There's links that go to Salesforce. You can see we're able to show who those internal participants were. So Alex and Bracy. Bracy was the AE, Alex was the sales engineer. So high level, right? We want that summary. It gives an overall overview of how that meeting went. Our demos are typically about an hour long. So very concise, compact summary. And again, Zoom does this, Gong does this. So this is something that's pretty standard today with a lot of different vendors. But the one thing that they don't offer is the ability to customize what you get. And this is where this problem summary comes in. This is very tailored towards the sales piece of it. And it could be early stages of someone coming, like trying to identify or already has identified a problem they have and is looking for a solution. So this will actually help us understand what is this specific prospect trying to do? Are we the right tool for them, and how can we help? The transcript using ChatGPT identified the problem. We are able to look at key takeaways, so more of a bulleted list of the combination, sometimes a little bit easier to read. And then there's those next steps, so anything that was discussed post meeting that needs to be completed. If there were dates discussed, it would highlight these here as well. And that's pretty standard, right? Summary, next steps, key takeaways. But this is where it starts getting really cool. There's a lot of neat things that you could do with the additional analysis. So sentiment analysis, what is the overall tone? So you could see that, this prospect was interested and optimistic about being able to use decisions to solve her problem, his or her problem. We were able to extract keywords that were used. So like really high level, maybe related to us, or, topics, right? Was it discussed a lot? So you can see process management, workflow, no code, many more. And then in addition to that, ChatGPT was able to identify that there was a competitor mention. So they compared Microsoft Power Platform to decisions, and it was able to identify that, mention it here. And this could be many different competitors. In this use case, it was just one. So continuing down this, right? The second piece is that training and coaching. So we're able to identify strengths, maybe some areas of improvement for the sales rep. And again, this is sending out every single meeting that is occurring that has been recorded. All right, so continuing down this line. So this is the recommendation engine, which is pretty cool. We did a past webinar kind of discussing use cases, but our customer success team, they write up use cases of what our customers do within our product. We are a software development product, and people use us for many different reasons, as Bracy discussed. We have our workflow, our rule engine, the integrations. So customers do use us for various reasons, but what we're able to do here is take that problem summary, run it through a recommendation engine that's using ChatGPT, and it matches how close of a match this use case is to that problem summary. And it will give us a confidence score or match score, saying this is about an 82% match. And again, we hide the customers, but this is very helpful, especially people using us for very different reasons. And then the 10th one, the final one, is the build objective. So this is categorizing that problem summary. And you could see that ChatGPT determined that this problem summary should be categorized as a rule engine. So very cool. This is completely custom. We created our own prompts. I'm going to kind of go into the workflow designer in a second and show you. But overall, like, this is extremely helpful. And something to keep in mind, this is something that we did for our sales team. We could completely reiterate this, and we could have this for our professional services team to help extract maybe some additional insights that are not shown here today. So we have full control over it. We define the prompts, we have the transcripts, everything's recorded, and we could produce great results by using this. All
And
right,
just
so
to reiterate that point, Derek, this is transferable to any team, not just sales. This could be meeting transcripts between accounting. This could be meeting
yeah,
transcripts with basically any internal organization. So really, the possibilities they're unlimited as far as what you can do. We just use Gong internally, so it's a great source of transcripts. But you could pick up transcripts taken from Zoom as well.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yep. So it's not limited to just Gong. It's just kind of like what we had in our tech stack. There is the possibility to do this with other transcriber tools, but it just really shows you the power of decisions, being able to integrate, orchestrate it, and produce these outputs. So it's very good. All right, so I'm gonna jump over to Salesforce. Can you see this okay, Bracy?
Yep.
All right, so this is our Salesforce environment. This was a event that occurred. This is the demo. So we record our events for anything related to our prospects or customers, but we're able to send those results directly to Salesforce. So you can kind of see, the summaries here, the problem summary, those key takeaways, next steps. You can see there's additional analysis of the sentiment, the keywords extracted, the competitor mentions, and then we also store the overall training, so we can kind of see if we're getting better or worse. So by being able to store this stuff directly in the Salesforce, we're able to get additional insights, do more data analysis. And a great example of that is that build objective, right? We saw that it labeled this meeting as a rule engine's build objective. So we're able to look at our opportunities over a period of time and see what ChatGPT is ranking those problem summaries at, where they're at within our sales stage. So this kind of gives us helpful insight of what we're building or what people are looking to build. What is the success rate of those people within our sales pipeline, and much more. So by pushing these insights to Salesforce, there's additional insights that we can kind of grab outside, or do additional data analysis on that side of things. All right, you ready to see live?
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna jump over to our workflow designer. So I'm within one of our decisions environments. And again, this is actually the workflow that conducts all of this. Kind of walk through it. But as you can see, we have all our toolbox on the left-hand side with a bunch of steps. So this is the drag and drop interface where you can kind of just drag steps over that do various things that accomplish various tasks. So very easy to build out a process, and kind of like what we're doing here is essentially we're communicating with an external database, Snowflake. So this is like the second piece of the process. The data is already stored. This flow is getting triggered about 30 minutes to after an hour of that meeting, which will find that transcript within the database and start really kind of going through this process. So I'm actually going to debug it live for you guys. I'm going to kind of step back and kind of give you some context to understand like what's happening, and then we can see how this works live. So we're going to define the prompts up front. There's 3 separate prompts. As you can see, there's the summary piece, and then we want to extract the internal conversations and the external. So we'll have separate prompts that are shown there. And just a kind of an example of what these prompts look like. So this is our summary piece, and I'll zoom in slightly. What we found as best practice is to do a couple things. One, you want to start with acting as something or someone. So we're acting as a talented analyst in this example. Two is, ask for or outline your task that you want ChatGPT to do. So the task is to identify and summarize, everything that's going on, and then to produce the next steps. And then finally is, how do you want that output to show? So within decisions, we want ChatGPT to output these results in a JSON format. And it's just so that we could easily extract that information and be able to further process it down the line. So again, 3 prompts defined. They all do different things. So the first piece is the summarization and next steps. We'll actually run this through our open AI steps within decisions. And the cool thing here is there's a lot of limitations with ChatGPT. A big limitation they have is token length. So how large is your text? As you can imagine, these transcripts are fairly large. We have massive transcripts. We're able to create a way within decisions to orchestrate this very well. So for example, if we pass it to ChatGPT and the transcript's too long, it's going to fail. It's going to say, there's nothing I could do. So if that does happen within decisions, we're able to do a method called truncating. So truncating is splitting the text into smaller sections that we could further use ChatGPT and then kind of do a summarization at the very end. So without having a tool such as decisions, it's very challenging to do something as such. And then we have, so we are a rule engine. We're a workflow rule engine. We have something called like a rule collection filter step. So what this does is it will run a rule for every row passed into it. And the objective here is we want to only show external communication for this next piece of it. So external would be, that prospect or customer's talk time. We only want to see that information for the next couple steps we have. So we're able to utilize the rule within decisions to do such. And this is where we want to, extract that problem summary. We don't want to look at, Bracy and Alex's communication because they're going to be doing a demo. They're going to be talking about decisions. We only want to focus on that prospect. They kind of see, maybe some issues they're having in regards to a problem summary or what is their overall objective. We could then, categorize that. We do this sentiment analysis only on that transcript. And that's where we do the competitor mentions as well. So this is the same step and it's reused. And the overall goal here is to extract these details. And we'll run this live again so you can kind of see how this works. And then finally, or second to last, we then want to focus on the internal transcript. So this is Bracy and Alex. And this is where we focus on that training to figure out, what were the overall strengths that ChatGPT thought through the transcript, or maybe some areas of improvement. And then finally, this is the last piece, is where we post these details directly to Salesforce. So it's kind of technical on this front of it, but this is really customizable. We're able to tweak it as needed. We could have like custom prompts for specific department. So this is really reusable. There's many different things we could do with it. This is more tailored to our sales piece of it, and it's definitely very impactful. So next, I'm gonna debug it. So this is our visual debugger. So we're actually able to see, what happens step by step within decisions. So by clicking this, there's a couple inputs, right? It's the ID. These are details that are in the database. And you can kind of see what happens step by step of running this process. We are debugging it in, this Visual Studio. It will run slightly slower. And in addition to that, we're communicating with ChatGPT. So by default, that's pretty slow. But the first step is we actually get the transcript stored in our database. There's other methods that you could do here. but this one works very well because it's a back-end job. This thing runs on a schedule and it's constantly working to make sure that it's capturing any new calls recorded. But from there, we create the prompts, we kind of clean the transcript a little bit just so that it's ready to be processed. And then you could see that the transcript was too large here, so it failed. We went into this truncate where we're able to split up that transcript into multiple sections, and it was able to produce an output and kind of continue down this path. And then the second piece of it, right? So that's where the ChatGPT step was. Now we're able to extract those details that ChatGPT produced. So I'm able to look at the input and output to kind of see what happened here. So you can see the input was a JSON format, and then the output was actually a known object within decisions. And again, this is all what ChatGPT produced by the transcript in that prompt that we defined. And as we continue, you can see that, this is where, again, we stripped out, and we only want to show in external communication. So once it kind of goes through this process, we then run it through ChatGPT again with a separate prompt. So this prompt is more focused on the external communication. So you can kind of just get a high level. You can see there's a prompt that we passed in. This is for truncating if we need to do so. And then this is what the transcript would look like. And as you can see, it's working its way down. This takes, a couple minutes. But as we can see, if we want to look at extract the problem and summary piece of it, this is the input outside. On the output, you can see this is where we did the problem summary, the facts or key takeaways, any questions asked, the problem category, competitors mentioned, keywords, and so forth. And then we finally push all those details directly to Salesforce, and you can see this job has been completed. So again, super customizable. We have full control over it. We're able to modify those prompts as necessary. And then, we have this where it's constantly running, and it's really been impactful over the last couple of months since we've had this live. And with that,
I can definitely attest. Yeah. It has. At first, some trepidation about what this meant for us, but for our sales team, this has definitely been a boon and a productivity boost.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, so we kind of showed you what it looks like on the input, how decision works, and how these outputs actually come out. These are the 10 additional insights that we're able to do. And again, fully customizable. We could change this as needed. And it was very, very easy to build, and we're constantly making modifications to this process. And Bracy, I'll hand it back to you.
Sure. Do you mind? Great. All right. So where do we go from here? We are happy to discuss this more in depth. Again, we can schedule a demonstration. Happy to look at this or other business processes that you have that you may wish to automate. Email us at sales@decisions.com to get that scheduled. You can get that white paper that we mentioned that dives into how you can automate and orchestrate artificial intelligence, or you can attend one of our events, decisions.com/events. We'd be so happy to see you on another webinar or on one of our trainings around the world. All right, let's go ahead and jump into Q&A. There are some questions that have been asked previously that we might bring out, but at this time, please feel free to ask in the chat or the question and answer section. Derek and I would be happy to answer these. One of the questions that we got was, do you need a Decisions and ChatGPT licenses separately, or is that ChatGPT license bundled in with Decisions? No, this is the case for all Decisions modules. Thank you, Syed, for the question. You will need to have a separate license, a separate API key, separate account, or Open API, or another artificial intelligence model. It does not come bundled with Decisions. We are an orchestrator. You'll have all sorts of different products around your company. We don't include licenses for those within our license.
Yeah, and something to add to that, ChatGPT is very cheap. We have all this AI automation going on internally, and it's a penny of a dollar for every transaction you do. So if you look at like a month of our transactions that happen all the time, we're spending, roughly less than $25 a month at an organizational level using ChatGPT. So it is fairly cheap using it through this process. And it really just kind of depends on the use case.
Great. We've got a lot of questions more domain specific, asking if it's possible to do certain things for specific industries like healthcare, manufacturing, transport. Derek, what would you say to people who are asking us to do similar use cases, but if they can be done in those industries?
Yeah, so is the question like how would we tweak what we showed today to
Can we
do?
tweak what we showed today
Oh
to
yeah.
fit those industries?
Yeah, absolutely. We like by using decisions, we could put, policies in place where people have full control of what that actual prompt is. You could change it as needed, and you could have multiple people in the same system and they have different prompts. So like a good example here is like say that we have different departments that use decisions. We have HR, we have IT, we have RevOps, we have sales. Each department has a separate um, prompt associated with them. So when their meetings are transcribed, it's more tailored to that use case. But yes, you're able to customize it completely within decisions. You could tweak it until you get it into a good state. And that's something we had to do. We had to, trial and error and figure out what works, what doesn't, but super customizable.
And just to extend on Derek's answer, it's not just meeting transcripts. It's really any language that you'd like to provide. So it could be text, it could be Slack conversations, it could be documents that are produced, etc. With these large language models, as long as you're able to feed them language, that is where this orchestration process can fit in at your business.
Yeah, that's a great
We had
point.
a question, bit of housekeeping here. Are we going to send out the recording? Absolutely. This will be posted to both our decisions.com page as well as our YouTube, Mohammed. So thank you for that question. All right, we had another question that asks how to connect with us to talk further. That would be sales@decisions.com, sales@decisions.com, or go on our website. You're welcome to schedule a demo using that mechanism there. We have another question. Do we have to be in sync with decisions and ChatGPT versions all the time? Derek, do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So to get access to the module within decisions, you do have to be on 8.12 or higher. Every time you upgrade your decisions environment, if there is a new ChatGPT version, it will be in sync with the upgrading of decisions. So for example, if you're on 8.12, it's going to have the most recent ChatGPT version, and it will stay like that until you upgrade your decisions platform. So it's already in sync for you. There's really nothing you have to do besides apply that API key.
Thanks. We have a question here in QA. Is it available in different languages? Decisions, as it stands, is able to be translated in different languages for the user portal. So we have customers all around the world, and they build forms, dashboards, reports, KPIs, etc., in different languages. ChatGPT can be done in different languages, but as of now, our Designer Studio is only available in English, but that may change in the future. So thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, and something to add to that too, there's other large language models like open source models that are trained on different languages too. So if you're looking for like a large language model that maybe ChatGPT cannot handle for specific languages, I'm sure there's an open source model that we could integrate within decisions fairly easy as well. So something to always keep in mind there.
Fantastic. So I think with that, we'd like to end on a great note. Thanks everyone for your questions. Hopefully we've answered all of them. Again, feel free to connect with us, sales@decisions.com. If you're a current customer, and you've got a customer success manager or someone to contact within the organization, feel free to go that route as well. We really enjoyed having you today. And again, the recording will be on decisions.com and on our YouTube channel. We'll be signing off. Thanks so much, everyone.